Hey, and hello everybody. Today is October 17th. It is my day 1.158. And I made a video yesterday, and I felt like I needed to make another video today, which kind of tells me there's some drama going on in my life. In the past, when I had a journal, it was like months could go by, and then I would write like 5 journal entries in a row, so it told me that, something was going on. And before I get into it, I looked at myself in the screen here, and I'm beginning to look a lot like my 5th grade teacher. Her name was Miss Morrison, and she was a tall lady, and she had kind of long hair, and she had this like beaded necklace she wore every day, and she always wore turtlenecks. And I just remember she had big breasts too, which, God, I hope. Let's keep growing. But anyway, but that aside, the reason I think for some of the drama, and I guess I just want to share it because this is my blog, and I think it's somewhat related to transitioning. We just have to wait for the cats to stop. Please. Please. I know you can't help it. You're a cat. Poor baby. A hairball. But I'm going to call it being a mommy, or feeling like a mommy, and that doesn't mean I'm replacing my ex-wife as the mother of my child. It's just since my daughter was born, I've been both mother and father in some way, and I think now that thanks to the hormones and the HRT whatnot, and the other drugs that kill the testosterone, it removes some of those barriers that maybe we had before. And I'm going to talk kind of in generalizations, and I apologize, it may not apply to you, and by no means am I a doctor or a specialist. I've just been on hormones for over a year, and I'm sharing this on my transition blog, so it kind of that's what comes into it. But I think where before, as a father, and maybe I need to take that out of it, maybe say as daddy, I would get frustrated and angry, I think because of the testosterone. And as mommy, I still have that frustration, but stereotypically it comes out as sadness or melancholy, or just a little upset, my daughter, etc., etc. And it's significant because it impacts your life. It's last night I couldn't do anything to crack a smile because I felt like I was hurting inside, and I didn't have anyone to tell. I talked to my mom very briefly, and that seemed to help for a little bit, but then it crept back in. And so that feeling of being a mommy, how it happened, the situation, put it in the right context. I have been sewing my daughter's Halloween costume this year from scratch. And so, yesterday, in addition to cleaning the house, which I realize, again, stereotypical housewife, put that in your mindset. And I grew up in the 70s and then in the 80s. So, I still kind of have that 1950s housewife expectation in me, which I don't necessarily mind. But, I was a dutiful domestic person yesterday, and cleaning house, cooking dinner, doing dishes, etc. And then working on my daughter's costume on my spare time, on my lunch and whatnot, and helping her with her homework and whatnot. And then she got a call to go do something with a friend, and so she went to go do that. And so it gave me an hour or two by myself. But at that point, I had to go down and flip the laundry and hang the wet clothes and things that needed to be ironed and whatnot. And I looked out the window and I was like, not necessarily how did my mother deal with it, but I felt like that housewife or that person who, you think they don't have a job, etc. But even though I have a full-time job and I work from home usually, my lunch is doing chores, and later in the day I'm doing chores, or I'm picking up or whatnot. And I guess you could say something about my daughter, helping out or whatnot, but she has homework to do and everything else. And it was just a flood of emotions, like sadness, like I don't have, like I'm not getting any help, you know. I'm raising my daughter on my own, and I'm not getting any help. I'm not getting any, I mean, help from helping around the house, which is something she could do. But financially, I'm not getting any help, you know, and we're kind of struggling a little bit. And so it makes me feel a little helpless in a way, but I'm surviving. I am making ends meet. And so I can take that as a positive thing. But last night I hopped on a chat group and was kind of visiting with some people, and I wanted to share my feelings and my thoughts, and you can't do that in a chat room. And the chat room was probably had about 25 people in it, and some of them were being a little goofy, some of them were being a little funny. It was an MTF kind of support room that had guys in it that were not MTFs, and I don't know how that works. You know, but it's one of those things you can't, and maybe this is something about, I'm not going to say related to transitioning in your middle age, but it's applicable to me. I have a 10-year-old daughter. She's in 5th grade. And so much of my time is devoted to her as her parent. And that necessarily doesn't have to be mommy or daddy, okay, mother or father, but that's where the bulk of my time is. And to try and talk to people who are a little younger than I, who are younger and not married, no kids, they don't have that obligation of homework and housework and making sure that my daughter's clothes are clean and they look good and whatnot. In the same way that someone who might be a little older than I, who transitioned, who maybe their kids are out of the house or they don't have kids, they don't have that that limitation either. You know, they've done their time, as it were, and their kids are grown up and out of the house, or they don't have kids. You know, or maybe they're lesbian, they don't have kids, or they're married or dating, or etc. etc. And so, while I'm very, very happy to be a mommy, you know, to be a parent and take care of my daughter, etc., etc., it is hard when people say, well, you know, we'll go do this weekend, or come on out, we'll go to Cincinnati, or we'll go do this, and you're like, I can't leave my daughter alone, and my daughter is not going to want to go, you know. So it's like, back to that stereotypical 1950s housewife. You sacrifice your own desires, and maybe that's what women have been doing all along, as far as raising kids and putting off their careers and etc. and such. Of course, now today things are different, but you know, you have to work, you have to make money, you have to fulfill your obligations to your children, but also to your work and your household. And when, especially, like I said, I'm single, like a single mommy. And so, again, before maybe I would have gotten frustrated and angry, you know, now I get sad and I blame myself. I get depressed. I noticed that too today. You know, it's like, you know, it might be time to start to take a little more vitamin D. We still have sunshine though, but you know what I mean. So again, that's just sharing, but also I think it's worth noting. You know, if you have a child, and in my case, our marriage did not survive me transitioning, although my transition was not really the reason why we got a divorce, but you know, it's something that happens, and I think, you know, would it keep me from transitioning? No. Would it keep me from being my authentic self? No. Because I would have been in this boat anyway, whether I transitioned or not. I would still be a single parent. You know, I just, instead of having that testosterone running through my blood to turn it into anger or what someone might say action. Okay, I've heard that before, that testosterone is, the masculine energy is action, it's doing, whereas the femininity, the feminine is more of an introspection. It's a passive contemplation whatnot. And that does not mean that women cannot do things or achieve things. It's just I think it's a different energy. And it's a bit of a shock absorber, and you're saying, well, this is what this is what I have to do, and I you know what I mean? And so again, I market for the blog, and for someone who might be in a similar boat, maybe you're feeling the same way. And life goes on. It's obviously I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to check out. I mean, I'm so very happy. If you can't tell from my posts and whatnot, I'm so very happy. I'm a much happier person today than I was 2 years ago, and obviously I'm a much more woman-like today as I was 2 years ago. I am definitely living as much as I possibly can, and I think I have those feelings that are within everyone. It's just, the testosterone is whereas the estrogen, the passiveness is somewhat of a, oh, well, let me see what I can do. We'll think about it. That kind of a thing. And that said, I may be full of shit. I mean, this whole argument or this whole discussion could be a pile of crap and just my opinion. But again, I'm just sharing it. And something to be aware of. Something to be aware of. If, like I said, but it wouldn't have kept me from transitioning. But I just needed to mark it. Really right now I just want to cry. And maybe I want someone to give me a hug and pat me on the back and say, Robin, I'm so sorry, sweetie. I know you're doing the best you can. Hang in there. And there's no one. There's no one. There's no one. And so in a way, I feel like we transition. And again, this could be a generalization. We transition as an island somewhat. And again, and maybe if I had a best friend, like a lesbian friend that loved me, if I was a lesbian and I was in a relationship, or I was straight, which I think I am, and in a relationship with a guy, I think I would get that. I would say, he would say to me, Robin, or I'm hoping he would say Karen, because I'm kind of reserving my middle name for my husband to use. But just to say, Karen, sweetie, you're doing the best you can do, and I'm so proud of you, and hang in there, So, and that's not to say things won't change. Someone once said that a bad situation or an emotion, you can look at it kind of like you're the sky, and these emotions are storm clouds, and they float in and they float away. They're not permanent, Sometimes you have to take action to blow them away. But all right, well, that's it. Don't know if we've really reached anything. I'm just kind of sharing. I feel a little better, and maybe that's sharing is caring. I don't know. But we will go on. This isn't over yet. Like I said, girls, we're not done yet. Wearing a turtleneck, you definitely see your breasts, and I'm happy to say I don't think they're not pouchy. I feel like they're like the front of a 1957 Chevy Bel Air. They kind of stick out, they jut out, but they're not quite droopy, saggy yet. And maybe that'll come in time, or in a couple years. We might be looking at some surgery there. Although from what I have been told, as far as folks that have the Orky surgery, where they remove your testicles and whatnot, that or GCS, again, when your testosterone count goes 0 or very, very low, I think you kind of go through a second metamorphosis somewhat, and I'm hoping for that, because I really do want bigger breasts. But don't we all? I've never met a trans woman say, my breasts are just too big. So hang in there, my friends. All right, this is it for the video. Good luck, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.